Hello everyone, welcome to Aria tutorials. In this session we are going to discuss the accounts payable module, the basic functions of the accounts payable module, and we are going to go through one or two screens of the main screens of the accounts payable modules. This course is basically intended to the accounting staff generally and the accounts payable section or department specifically. This course outcome or what will you be expecting from this course is that you'll be able to create a vendor. Of course, by now you know how to create a vendor, but we are going to take a quick recap upon that. Secondly, you are going to be able to create a payable invoice and a separate payable invoice and a payable invoice that can be linked to the style purchase orders. Thirdly, you will be able to make bank adjustments, and number 4, you'll be able to use the bank reconciliation program. Okay, so let's start. We are starting by a quick recap on the vendor screen on how to create a vendor master file. First of all, you need to navigate to master data to get to the vendor. So we go to my area, master data, then I'm going to click the vendor. Here, I'm going to enter the vendor code. I'm going to call it test. The system is going to tell me that this vendor code is not found in the system, and it's giving me 3 choices. Would I like to browse for it? Maybe I have misentered or misspelled the name or the code, or add it or re-enter. I'm gonna choose add. Okay, I'm gonna enter the company name, test company. This is pretty standard. You here enter the phone, the fax, the company division, type, class, buyer, credit, and available limit. Here you'll be able to enter the address. Here you enter the city. Enter the state, zip code, country. These are pretty standard. You can get it from the vendor information that you are dealing with, or you can get it from the vendor invoice itself. Okay. Let's navigate to the most important part in this tab, or the second most important part, because the first most important part is the vendor supplies. If you are, or if this vendor is a supplier for your goods, you will need to check this box, not this one, this box, and it's gonna open you a bunch of options. It's gonna ask you if this vendor, what is it supplying to you? Is it styles, is it materials, is it contractor services, or is it miscellaneous services? And this is covering all the aspects of the business. So we're gonna choose like styles and miscellaneous services. Click OK. The second option is called record origin invoice detail forward. We're gonna check that. We have shipments, style POs, return style POs, or general expense. I'm gonna click it all to be moved, and I'm gonna click OK. Here I'm going to assign the default expense account for this vendor. Let's say it's gonna be like cost of goods sold or purchase order clearing account if it's a supplier for me. Let's just choose cost of goods sold account. Here you have a bunch of filters that you can use to search for the account. Here I'm gonna choose the account on description, and I'm gonna click here to be able to search, and I'm going to search for cost of goods sold. Here I have the account, and I'm gonna repeat the same thing with the account payable choice. And here I'm gonna have the default expense account and the default AP account. The next step is for the payments. You have the bank, the checking account, the payment method, and the terms code, which is gonna be reflected on the due dates. Of course, you will have by now assigned or created your bank account to be able to assign it to this screen. So you're gonna browse, and you're gonna choose this bank. I'm gonna choose this vendor terms to be like 30 days at 30. Okay, and that's all for this screen. The next screen, if you are paying taxes or for this vendor, you have it by the tax type divided by line item tax or percentage of total, and also if this vendor is like a freelance vendor, you can select its 1099 type to be issued after that from the 1099 form. The next step is for the factor. That's in case you have a factor who pays your obligations for you, and then you pay to the factor. You can assign it from here. Of course, you need to create the factor first from the factor screen under the company setup in the master data. Okay. So right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna uncheck these boxes because I want to show you first how to create a payable invoice without the detail tab to be open. Okay, so I'm gonna set this vendor. It's asking me if I would like to add notes. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna exit this screen, go to transaction screen, accounts payable, payable invoice. Here I'm gonna select the vendor code I have just created. Test. As you can see here, it has already reflected on the screen, and the screen has navigated me to the next field, which is the invoice number. So, for example, if I have entered the code incorrectly, like that, it's gonna give me the same message it gave me when I was creating the vendor. So vendor code TS is not found in our data file. Would you like to browse or add or re-enter? I'm gonna choose to browse. So you are facing a little bit interruption in the internet. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm gonna choose to browse. You have here the filter on the vendor code, and it has selected the company for you, so you can double click on it. Here you're gonna enter the invoice number. For example, we are gonna enter by today's date, and number 05/12/2020. This is it's gonna be the invoice number. It has a multi-character option that you can enter alphabets, numbers, special characters. It accepts all that, which is a pretty good privilege, to be honest. Okay, moving on. When I press enter, it's gonna ask me the same message, but a different way. This invoice is not found in our data file. What would you like to do? I would like to add a new invoice with today's date. It's telling me that this date falls within future period. I'm gonna click OK. It's gonna navigate me to the header, and here is an important note. Here you have two dates: a posting date and an invoice date. The posting date is actually the date that the invoice or the entry reflects on the GL. The invoice date is the date that the invoice shows in the AP aging. Okay, or that is the due date is being counted upon. Okay, so here, when I selected this date to be May 12th, you can see here that the due date has reflected automatically to be June 11, which is exactly net 30 days, which I had selected from the vendor master file while I was creating the vendor. Okay, so if I change this to be, it's not gonna accept this, by the way, this message. The invoice amount cannot be 0. They want to cancel the invoice. Once you have got here, you have got to this field, the invoice amount field, you have to enter it, to enter the amount, or else it's gonna give you this message every time you try to navigate to any other field in the screen. Okay, so I'm just gonna enter $1,000. Okay, so if I change this to like 20, it's telling me here that the posting date falls prior to the invoice date. I'm gonna tell it's okay to proceed. As you can see here, the due date has changed to the 19th. So if I change this one to like 5, the due date is not going to change. See? Okay, so let's get everything back to its position. This is going to be 12 also. Okay, and here you can add a discount for the invoice. Here you can edit if you want to add the if you have not assigned the terms in the vendor screen and you wanted to assign from here, you can do that. Division, you can choose the division, and here's a reference you can add to your invoice. The payment methods you have here, we have here printed checks, manual checks, non-checks payment, cash payment, and credit card. Let's leave it on printed checks. Even if it's on printed checks, you can pay with other means of payments as well. Okay. This tab, details tab, is dumped because of the vendor supplies checkboxes that we had unchecked in the vendor screen. We have here the only open tab is the distribution lines. Let's click on it, which we have here to assign the expense account from it. Of course, here it's picking up the expense account we have entered in the vendor screen, but we have the ability to either remove this line and enter a new one. It's gonna be defaulted to this account as well, but you have the choice to browse and get any other expense account. It's not gonna tell you anything. And also you have the ability to add more lines for different expense account, and you can assign or divide the amount on it. Of course, this type of invoice is the type of invoice that does not need to be linked to a purchase order. So this kind of invoice is intended to invoices or non-supplier invoices. A vendor that is not supplying anything for you. Okay. As you can see here, we have the invoice amount of $1,000, and that's interesting me that there are $700 that are not distributed yet. Okay, if I change this to like 800, this is gonna be 0. Okay, so I'm gonna remove this one, and I'm gonna keep this on 1000. Here you can add any notes you want. This invoice has been sent in an email on any date you want, like 05/01/2020. Okay. Here's a very important tab for the sales. For the tax, of course, we are not assigning any tax code for this vendor, but if you want to assign any tax code, you can either add it from here, add a new code, or you can assign it from the vendor screen. Okay. Now I have finished the invoice. I can click save. Okay. And the invoice has been created and it has been posted to the GL. So how can I see the effect of this invoice on the GL? This is a very good question, and we can do that through the a report called AP Journal. AP Journal. The AP Journal can be found under Output, Accounts Payable, Payables, AP Journal. So this is basically report intended to show you all the movements of the account payables section or the account payables module on the GL. Any effect that you cause by either creating the invoice, making a payment, making a bank adjustment, voiding a payment, voiding an invoice, even anything. Okay. Here you have release status. This is always set on both. Based on release sort options, you have 3 options: GL, transaction, and vendor invoice. I'm gonna select transaction to be sorted for transaction. Include voided invoice, let it be known. Transaction date, let's enter the date of the invoice, 05/12. Vendor code, we're gonna choose the vendor code to be this. Okay, distribution account, this is not needed, but here you can add the GL account. Of course, you don't have any browse button here. In order to browse, you do a question mark and click enter, and it's gonna open the chart of account screen for you to select the GL account. Transaction type, you can either select any of them if you are seeking to see a specific transaction and you don't have much information, this is a good way to filter. But now I have the vendor and I have the date. So I'm gonna select all and I'm gonna preview the PDF. Let's zoom in. As you can see here, the posting date is reflecting as May 12th. The transaction type is invoice. Transaction number, the invoice number we had entered in the invoice screen. The vendor code, invoice number, the account, the GL account you have here, the accounts payable, data credits. If the as you are familiar, if the amount is credit, we put it between brackets like that, and cost of goods sold is in debit by 1,000. Okay, and the total, of course, is with 0 because it's a double-sided entry. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to the payable invoice and let's see how can we approve this payable invoice to be paid. This is the vendor. We can browse from here. We have only one invoice, but in case you have multiple invoices and you don't know the invoice number, you can browse and select the invoice from here. Okay. So here I want to approve this invoice to be paid. Of course, I have here another screen called approve for payment, but this screen is intended to approve multiple invoices to be paid at once, not just one invoice. And this screen is going to be we're going to take this screen in the next video. So now we're going to explain how to approve an invoice to be paid. We're going to click edit, options, approve for payment. Here you can see the bank account, the bank GL account, the currency, the rates, and the approve to pay. The approved adjustment you can assign from here the adjustment you want. Let's say it's $200. Okay, total approve cannot be greater than the open invoice amount. Okay, so because this is 1,000 and this is 200, so the total is gonna be 1,200. So we're gonna do this as 800. This is 200. And this is any adjustment you want to add. And this tab is actually for the 1099 amount. As you, if you remember in the vendor screen, the 1099 tab, where you assign the vendor to be a freelance or to be able to print the 1099 form, you will need to add a 1099 in this box, amount in this box, to be able to print the form. Of course, it's not editable now, or you're not able to add anything to it because we have not chosen this one to be a 1099. In fact, let's add 100 here in the adjustment, so we can see the entry, how it's gonna reflect to the GL. Okay, so approve and save. Here I have approved this invoice to be paid. I'm gonna go to the payment screen and pay it. I'm gonna pay through the non-check payment screen. All the screens we are gonna cover in detail in the next session, but I'm just showing you here the process flow. I'm gonna enter the vendor code. As you can see, the invoice has reflected here by the approved amount to be paid is $700. The approved discount is $200. The approved adjustment is $100. You can select this. If you have, of course, you have here select all button. If you have more than one line, you can also select none, or you can convert to like undo or redo what you have just done. So let's select this. Once you pay the selected invoices, here's the payment date. We are going to choose it to be like May 20. You have here the amounts that we have added in the approve for payment screen. You cannot change from here. It can be only changed from the approve for payment tab. And here you have the payment number, which is usually a sequential number based on the payment date. In this case, it's 05/20. Proceed and save. Okay, let's go back to the EP journal to see the effect of this transaction on the GL. Filter by transaction. We're going to choose the transaction date. The vendor code, which is test. And preview. As you can see here, the accounts payable which was credited in the previous transaction was here debited to be reversed and closed. We have paid $700, so we have credited the bank account by the $700. Also, we have the payable discount and the payable adjustments here reflecting with the amounts that we had selected. Okay, so let's get this transaction another way. Say, for example, I do not recall this vendor code. I only have the date, so I can browse by the date. It's gonna give me the same result, but in this case, it's gonna give me all the all the transactions that are created in this date. Either it was invoices, payments, bank adjustments, anything. Also, I can filter here by the non-check payments, and it's going to give me the transaction. Okay. Okay, so after finishing all the aspects related to the regular invoice, now we are going to discuss a new topic regarding the invoices tree also, which is the purchase order invoice, or the invoice related to a purchase order. Of course, to do that, first of all, we will need to assign the vendor to be able to be a vendor, a supplies vendor, through checking these two checkboxes. What we are going to need from here is starts and miscellaneous services, and in the second checkbox we are going to take all of them: shipments, start POs, return start POs, and general expenses. Okay, save, and we're going to go back to the payable invoice screen through transactions, accounts payable, and payable invoice. Okay, we're gonna enter a new invoice, shipments number 02. Okay, right. Let's add it on the date of more. Okay. Let's put that with the dummy amount we're gonna change later, say $500. As you can see here, the details tab is lit up. It can be clicked. Okay. Here in the reference we can put like the number of cartons in this shipment, 25 cartons. So this tab is the most important tab in this screen right now, because it is concerned with linking the purchase orders to the, or linking the payable invoice screen to the purchase order. You can do that through various ways. This tab is giving you multiple options to do that, either by adding a line to line by clicking new. The new button is going to link, but line by line. So the document, what is the document? The document we are linking. If it's a style purchase order, we are gonna click style purchase order. What is the cost type? Is it FOB, duty, miscellaneous, freight, style component? This is basically covering all the aspects of the business you are going to need in this area. In our case, it's going to be an FOB. The style PO, if you know the style purchase order, you can just enter it. I think it's worse than that. No, I'm wrong. What happens? Let's just move this one and add it again. FOB is. And let's search, yes, this one. Okay, as you can see here, this purchase order has not been yet received, therefore it's reflecting by 0 amount and 0 quantity at every field. Because you are selecting to get it from the new button, it's giving you all the freedom to be able to select the amount, the quantity, the styles, and the size scales. Let's remove this and try the other button, which is auto. Here, if you have a receiving session, it's going to tell you. If not, it's going to tell you that no records to be displayed. We're going to generate. As you can see here, it has reflected the style, the budget quantity, the budget cost, the budget amount, and the invoice quantity, the invoice cost, and so on. As you can see here, you can enter the document number, the cost type, and click generate. If you want to undo this step, you can click clear, and you'll be able to choose that all over again. Also, you have here the various options to add. Now click generate. Okay, it has been selected. Let's proceed, and you can see it all has reflected the unit cost, the quantity, the total amount, and the style number, the style description. You have the work in process account is reflecting. You can change that easily from here. Okay, and you have here the style sizes, like exactly like what you have in the style purchase order screen. Okay, if I navigate it to the description line, I can see that the this is the line that will be reflecting on the GL, one line on the purchase order clearing account with the total amount. I have here the invoice amount with 500, so I have undistributed amount with this amount, so I have to edit the invoice amount to match the purchase order amount. 2,753.94. Okay. I can change here the unit cost or in the total amount if I want. This is depending on the price that I get in the invoice. And of course, I don't need to say that the purchase order receiving amount should be equal to the payable invoice amount in order to avoid any variances in the PO clearing account, which is this account. It can be solved easily through the purchase order closing, but it's gonna be like easier for you and more controllable if you will be able, if you are able to control the receiving price to be equal to the invoice price. Okay. So this is basically how can you create an invoice and link it to a purchase order. You can click save. Okay, check it out. If you want to see this invoice but not the reflect on the GL, the main invoice itself, you can see it through a report called invoice contribution. This can be shown through output, accounts payable, payables, invoice contribution. This invoice allows you to see all the invoices that are linked to purchase orders or shipments. Here you have the option to select the document type that you are linking to your payable invoice, either it's a type purchase order, a shipment, accounting ticket, a material PO, and so on. In our case, it's a style purchase order, so we're gonna select that. Cost type, we are gonna leave it all, we don't need that. Include contributed amount. If you have contributed your invoice, do you want to include that or not? We're gonna click that to be no. The vendor code, we're gonna select our vendor code. Here, if you know your invoice number, you can enter it. Ship. Update this filter. Where's the short? Invoice number, vendor code. Okay, so shipment number 2 test. So this is the invoice number. This is the vendor code. Yeah, so close. Okay, the invoice date, we have selected that to be 0501. Let's open. It's not giving anything. Beside them. Okay. Okay, it seems like I've entered the wrong date, that's why it's not picking up anything. Let's choose the invoice number ID. Okay, as you can see here, we have the document number, sorry, the vendor code, document type, which is a payable invoice, invoice contribution report, the invoice number, the invoice date, the currency. You have the type of the document linked to the payable invoice, which is a style purchase order. Here is the style number, and here is the purchase order number, and here is the quantities we have linked, divided by the size, 1, 2, 3, 4, total quantity and the total amount. This is basically a lot like the purchase order report or the PO receipt log. So you can compare between the receiving cost and the actual cost for particular style or particular purchase order. Okay, now we are going to discuss how to create a payable invoice and link it to a shipment instead of a purchase order. We're going to go to transactions. Just let's call shipments number 3. So as we were saying, now we are going to discuss how to create a payable invoice and link it to a shipment, which is a group of purchase orders. Select the invoice number. I don't know the total amounts. This would feel like 250 portions. Okay, as you can see here, the due date has reflected to be mid-30. If I change that from here, like 360 days, it's gonna shift. Okay, going to details. Also, I have the two options, either to add renew. This time I'm gonna click shipments, FOB. I'm gonna click the shipment number, which is I know 22. It's gonna navigate me to the style color, and I can enter it line by line. Of course, this way is not very reliable, to be honest, because in order to be able to enter a shipment and review it, it's going to take too much time to enter it line by line. Okay, so we're going to remove this and use the auto button. The document is going to be shipment. Let's select the shipment number. The post type is going to be FOB. Okay, and let's check if we have a receiving session. Yes, actually we have this, the session number, the receiving quantity, and the received amount. I'm going to click generate, and you can check here the data that is has been pulled up from the receiving session before proceeding and posting it to the invoice lines. In the previous invoice, when we were creating an invoice and linking it to a purchase order, it was not received. Therefore, the invoice screen was pulling up the data from the purchase order screen, not the receiving one. Okay? We're going to click proceed. We have here the total amount, 2,305.60. If we navigate it here, we are going to find a mismatch. Let's correct it. Of course, when you enter the invoice, you will know the invoice total amount, because you will have the invoice from the vendor, either a hard copy or a soft copy on your computer. Okay. As you can see here, the document is a shipment, cost type is FOB, no operation. The shipment number, you have it here. The unit cost, you can change that. It's 4.15. It's make it 5, and it's gonna change the whole total amount of the line and the total amount of the invoice. If we went to the distribution line, we can see that it's reflecting on 4 lines, like the lines of the invoice and the lines of the shipment before that. And here you can find the sizes. This is the work in process account. You can change it whenever you want. Let's change the total amount of the invoice. Here it's matching. Okay, so this is all you need to know regarding the how to link an invoice to a style purchase order or an invoice to a shipment. Let's save that. And we can go to the AP journal report and see how it is reflecting on our GL. Okay, you can see that it's reflecting accounts payable in the credit with the total amount, and the PO clearing account reflecting with the line amount in each line. It's divided in the report. Okay, so you can see also the invoice contribution, but instead of style PO, you are going to see a shipment. Vendor code is test. And the invoice date. Okay, something is wrong with this report. Try to select the invoice number. And here we go. Here, instead of a purchase order, it's a shipment. And here it's the shipment number, style number, and the quantities. Everything else is the same as the invoice contribution for style PO, the vendor, the document type, the invoice number, invoice date, and the amounts. And that's it. Okay, going back to the payable invoice screen. At the beginning of this video, I have showed you how to create a normal payable invoice with no details there. How about we create the same invoice, a normal one, without linking it to a purchase order, but including the details there. We are gonna call this invoice numbers. Okay, let's move to here, select the new and select general expense. Here it's going to, as you can see here, no style button, no document type you need to link, just an item you can enter it manually. We can say like shipping and handling. Okay, let's copy that and paste it here. Here we can change the expense accounts to be the same, shipping and handling. Okay, and you can here either enter the unit cost quantity or just enter the total amount. With that, it's gonna put it directly based on one quantity of one, and cost the same. Go to distribution lines, you can see that it's the undistributed amount is 0, and you are good to go. This is actually another way to enter a normal invoice in case you have a supply vendor that you have a non-supply invoice for it. And save. Let's see how it's reflecting on the AP journal. Same as the first invoice we have created. You have here the accounts payable in the credit and the shipping in the debit, invoice number, transaction type, and the chart of account or GL account number. Well, and that's all regarding the invoicing. I think we have some time to cover the rest of the session's topics. What we have left is the bank adjustment and the bank reconciliation. Okay, basically the bank reconciliation is a program concerned with the bank. It reconciles all the entries that affects the bank that you have created, either it's payments or debit memos or bank adjustments. Okay, but before showing you the bank adjustments and bank reconciliation, we need to see something very important, is how to void an AP invoice and how to create a debit memo. Let's just first create a debit memo and then void it. A debit memo is basically an invoice with a negative amount. So if I entered this like that, it's going to ask me, do you want to add a debit memo? I'm going to say yes, and I'll be good to go. Enter general expense, debit memo. this for any other account. This. Enter the same amount with negative here. And click Save. Before voiding it, let's see how it's reflecting on the GL. Of course, because it's a debit memo, so the entry will be reversed. I remember that I have created an invoice in the same date. So let's see. So it's going to show me two transactions, as I was telling you. This is the debit memo we have just created. As you can see that the entry is reversed. The accounts payable is in debit and the expense account is in credit. This is the invoice we have created earlier. The account payable is credited and the cost of goods sold account is debited. Okay, so in case I don't want to see all transactions together, I just want to see one transaction. So I'm gonna check the invoice. So the system is considering the debit memo as an invoice as well, so it's gonna show them together, categorized in one category. But if we have a payment or a bank adjustment in the same date, it will not be shown. Okay, let's get back to the payable invoice screen and void this debit memo, and it's the same as voiding the invoice. So if I open the invoice, I'm gonna click this button. It's gonna ask me, are you sure you want to void this record? Yes. Then it's gonna come up with a void date. This void date should be the same as the invoice date in order to avoid any mismatch in the accounts payable or the expense account in the invoice while reconciling these accounts. Okay, and it has void. Let's try to select this number again. The system will not allow me because this has been voided, so it cannot be used, and I will not be able to find it here to select it. But the system will always remember that this debit memo number or invoice number has been used, and now it's void. Let's go back to the AP journal to see the effect of this on the general ledger. Here it's saying include voided invoices. I'm gonna check this to be yes. The contest. As you can see here, you will be able to see the invoice or the debit memo, and it's reversed because it's in the same day. Here the accounts payable was debited, and here it was credited because of the void. Here the expense account was credited, here it was debited because of the void. Alright, now let's move on to the next topic, which is the bank reconciliation and the bank adjustment. You can get the portal screens by following the following path: master data, bank reconciliation. Let's start with the bank adjustment. A screen like your bank screen. Here you select here to add a new record. When you add a new record, you will see that the system will pick up your default bank and checking account, default currency, and your exchange rate, today's date, and the adjustment type is defaulted to be deposit. So let's leave it this way as deposit and add a new code. I can add a new code. I have, of course, different type of codes, but I want to show you how to add a new code and how to assign a GL account for that code. Let's say deposited check. It's going to give me the adjustment account. I'm going to choose an AR account. AR manufactured. As you can see, it has reflected. The GL checking account is the bank account, and the distribution account is the account that I had chosen for this code. Of course, if I change the code, if I change the deposit reason, it's going to change the distribution account. So on transfer, it's going to change. Let's go back here and we're depositing $500. Here is a reference to be shown in the report or on the bank reconciliation screen. You can type anything related to this payment. Okay, payment from customer for invoice number 050504. Okay, and you can save it. Let's do another one as a charge and then go to the AP journal to see the impact. Check payment is defaulted on a specific distribution account. If I change that to 7 months, as you can see, these all are adjustment reasons with the same GL account. This one is different. Let's stick to this one for $100. Late fee payment for the loan interest. Okay, let's see. Let's go to output. For transaction, I don't have any vendor for this transaction, so I'm gonna pick the dates that this transaction has been entered. I want to see this transaction only, so I'm gonna choose bank adjustment. If I choose all, it's gonna show me all the transactions that had took place in this date. As you can see, is invoice one of them. I don't want to see this invoice, so I'm going to filter using transaction type to be bank adjustment. Okay, so the transaction type bank adjustment. Here's the transaction number, the date. This is the first one, which is the deposit. You can see here that the bank account has been debited and the ER account has been credited. On the other hand, the second transaction with the, which is charge, is you can see that it's a charge because the bank checking account has been credited and the expense account has been debited. Okay, you can use this screen in cases that you don't want to create a payable invoice for the transaction. That's like a one-time transaction that's happening one time. You don't need to go to the hassle of creating a vendor specifically for and creating an invoice for a transaction that is it's not going to be occurred again. Okay. Now let's go back to this is the bank adjustment screen and how you can deal with it. Of course, in the bank adjustment screen, you are able to change the checking account or change the distribution account, even if you are selecting the deposit reason that's picking up this account. You can change this distribution account. Okay. Bank reconciliation. This screen is concerned with the all the transactions that affect the bank account, the bank checking account, which is this account. You can choose to display the transaction affecting this bank or other banks that you have added to your company. You can choose to see summary or detail. Let's see detail for the AR. Sort by transaction number, type, date, or date. Let's sort by transaction date. You can select the transaction by a period or a date. I'm going to select by date from May 1 to May 20. So display. I have only 3 transactions: a deposit, a charge, and my check. A deposit and the charge. This is concerned with the or related to the bank adjustments that I have just created. And here you can see the reference that I have written in the bank adjustment reference tab in the bank adjustment screen. And here, in the case of the non-check payment, it's reflecting the vendor name. Here you have a status for these payments and amount for each one of them. You have 3 fields: book, and having 3 amounts: book field, open field, and clear field. This screen is concerned to be used to revise all your banking transactions in order to reconcile the bank. So if you, at the end of the month, you have your bank statement in hand or on your computer, whatever, and you are going through the transactions that you have made on the system one by one. So if you are sure that this transaction is matching your bank account, you can click it to be clear. In this case, the open amount would change. Okay, and this transaction is also, I'm sure of it, I'm going to clear it. And this one is also. So in this case, the cleared amount is going to match the book amount. If I open this one, it's going to be the only one opened, which is going to be the difference between the book and the difference between the clear, and the open amount is going to give you the book amount. If we open this one also, see the negative 800 plus 500 is going to give you negative 300. Okay. Also, if you have cleared a payment, you will not be able to see it in the void payment screen. So the void payment screen we're going to explain in details in the next video, but to give you an insight, it's a screen that you can delete or cancel the payment that you have made. Here you have it. You can void it, or you can change the date, whatever, in the same date or in another date. If I choose this payment to be clear, it will not appear in this screen. Let's see how this is going to happen. This one. Let's clear this one, save. Go back to transaction, void payments. As you can see, no payments matching the selected invoice criteria. So make sure that at the end that the reconciliation and the clearing of the payments takes place at the end of each month, and you are not going back to open this amounts again. Because in order to be able to void this payment, you will need to go to the bank reconciliation, open the payment, and then go to the void payment screen to be able to void it. Okay. This is all for today. We have discussed today how to create a vendor, supplier vendor, and an ordinary vendor. We have discussed how to create a non-purchase order or shipment invoice that is not linked to anything. Purchase orders that a payable invoice that is linked to purchase order and the shipment, and a payable invoice that is not linked to them, but you will use the details tab to do it. Okay, we have discussed also how to see the effect of each of them on the general ledger, and we have seen the invoice contribution report. We have also discussed how to approve one invoice to be paid. We have paid it. We have discussed how to create a debit memo and how to void a payable invoice. Also, we have discussed how to create a bank adjustment, and at last the bank reconciliation and how we can use the bank reconciliation screen. Thank you so much for attending this session, and see you in the upcoming sessions. You have a good day.